Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Tried, True, and New Strategies to Fund and Implement Energy Retrofit Projects for Schools. Now, it's likely that most of you are well aware of the benefits of energy efficiency: lower energy bills for one, modernized facilities, less maintenance requirements likely, and improved occupant comfort, absolutely critical in the learning environment. And then there are the environmental benefits and the opportunity to model sustainable practices in your schools. How wonderful. What you'll hear today during this webinar is an update on programs and funding resources meant to help schools achieve high performance in their existing facilities. I just wanted to run through a couple of the objectives for today's webinar. The first being to introduce some of the new funding and support resources out there related to energy conservation. Some go beyond efficiency and are applicable to other strategies, just a bonus. The objective number 2 is to present what's worked in the past and what is still available currently. And lastly, number 3, we're exploring the very key strategy of leveraging all the myriad offerings to maximize the savings to your district. Energy savings, of course, as well as the time and cost savings from a staffing perspective. Just a brief acknowledgement before we dive in. Today's webinar is hosted by the Southern California Regional Energy Network, or SoCalREN, acronym for short. The SoCalREN Public Agency Program works closely with K-12 school districts, local governments, special districts, and other public entities to develop energy efficiency strategies and projects supporting statewide energy goals. I'll expand on the program a bit more later in the webinar. As for me, my name is Nicole Manzanares, and I'm a SoCalREN project manager with the Energy Coalition, and it is my pleasure to welcome you and facilitate today's webinar. I'm also supported by Megan Comper, so if you experience any technical issues, please send Megan an email at mcomper@energycoalition.org, and she'll help you work through it. And not to worry, this webinar is being recorded and will be available on demand after airing today. I wanted to review some of the Q&A functions that we will be utilizing to capture questions for later in the panel discussion. So all attendees are muted for this presentation right now, and throughout the webinar, we encourage participants to submit questions a couple of different ways. You can utilize the Zoom webinar chat function, or you can utilize the Q&A function, and we'll be able to capture all of your comments and any of the questions and pass them along to the speakers later on. So please take a moment to locate the Q&A functions on your dashboard, and we look forward to a great dialogue later on. Just a review of the agenda and what's to come. In a moment, I'll be introducing the speakers and pass off to our keynote presenter to provide updates on resources available in the post-Prop 39 era. You'll hear an update on the Prop 39 program ramp down, other financing and funding resources, and also get an overview of programs that offer energy project assistance to schools. I'll be giving a brief introduction to the SoCalREN Public Agency Program, a project implementation resource for K-12 public and charter schools specifically. And then we'll turn the discussion over to 2 district representatives offering their own perspectives on energy management and sharing about retrofit project efforts in districts in Los Angeles and Ventura counties. And then, as discussed, the webinar will close out with a speaker Q&A panel, and we'll try to get through as many audience questions as we can in the time allotted. And let's meet our panelists briefly. You'll first be hearing from Steve Clark with Newcomb, Anderson, and McCormick, followed by Marianne LaRue representing Oxnard Union High School District, and lastly, Keith Kovach with Alhambra Unified School District. And I just want to take a moment to thank the 3 speakers for their time and efforts in putting together a wonderful program for all of you today. And with that, let's move into our keynote presentation. Life after Prop 39. Steve Clark is a director and engineer with Newcomb Anderson McCormick and has been providing independent energy consulting services for public and private clients since 2009, with a particular focus on energy efficiency, retro-commissioning, renewables, and energy storage. With NAM's recent acquisition by Willdan, Steve is now leading their nationwide expansion into providing owner's rep consulting as clients look to the future to tackle complex problems such as EV charging and fleet conversion, electrification strategies, and community microgrids. So with that, Steve, a big welcome to you.
Thanks, Nicole. I'm excited to be here today to talk to everybody about life beyond Prop 39 and how to keep the money flowing. With Prop 39 kind of dominating the funding landscape, at least in the energy efficiency realm for the last 5 years, we wanted to give everybody an idea of how to maintain the momentum that was built during that program to continue to see energy savings and leverage all available funding sources that are out there. So first, a quick recap of the key Prop 39 dates. Everybody probably knows the last day to submit your EEPs to Prop 39 to request new funding was back in February of this year. That's kind of where we stand right now. Minor changes are still available, or you can still make minor changes to those EEPs as long as you don't add new sites or request new funding. Let's say a project fell through and you need to do something else with the funding that was originally allocated to that project, there's still the opportunity to do that. The next key milestone that's coming up is June 30th, 2019, and that is the last day to encumber funding. And for Prop 39, encumbrance means, Prop 39 for K through 12 schools, funding encumbrance means that a contractor must be selected and a contract awarded. You have another year to complete the project through June 30th, 2020 to close out the construction, and then another year after that to file all the final paperwork and reporting that Prop 39 requires, ending June 30th, 2021. So there's still some time. That's the great news. But the end of the program, the official end of the program is going to be here sooner than we know. So don't delay, keep going. All right, next slide. There was talk around February of some leftover funding from Prop 39. There were certain entities who did not leverage the program or did not know how to leverage the program, and there was a tranche of leftover funding. This was estimated at a little over $100 million, almost $115 million. I called the CEC at the end of July, and they had no update on that amount after all the final EEPs were submitted and approved. So at this point, we'll assume it's somewhere north of 100 million still. What they were going to do with that, they're going to split it 3 ways. Originally, 75 million was going to go to school bus retrofit program. Some of it was going to go to fund 0% ECA Ed loans. You know, a much necessary cash infusion into the low interest or no interest loan program. And then the rest was going to go into competitive grant program, or as some were calling it, Prop 39 V 2.0. We have not, or as of late July, the CEC had no word on Prop 39 V 2.0, so we'll assume that these original 2 areas, the ECA Ed loans and the school bus retrofit, will consume all of the funding. All right. Diving a little bit into the school bus replacement program, this is actually a really, really good opportunity for districts to use some grant money to replace their oldest diesel school buses, to remove them from service. Phase 1 of this grant, the CEC is really looking to the districts to apply and identify the oldest and dirtiest buses to replace. Phase 2 of this grant will seek bulk pricing on these buses that essentially the grant dollars will then purchase for the districts. As far as funding available goes, there's $75 million statewide that's been set aside for this. Each district is eligible for up to 10 buses. It's going to take, the funding will be divided into 4 buckets statewide, 4 quadrants, with Los Angeles and basically south of Los Angeles as 2 of the 4 quadrants. Oldest buses will be prioritized first in the replacement order, and there's also points that are awarded for free, to districts that have a higher share of free and reduced price meals and disadvantaged community, higher disadvantaged community scores. Paired with that, there's also $13 million statewide for EV bus infrastructure support. So the CEC grant will buy the buses and the Alternative and Renewable Fuels and Vehicle Technology Funds will provide $13 million statewide to install the infrastructure to charge those buses. There's up to $60,000 available per bus for infrastructure through that, through the second tranche of funding. The grant submittal is coming fast, September 20th, so there is still time, and luckily it is a fairly simple application. The CEC has even put a YouTube video out to guide everybody through the steps, and I watched it again yesterday, and it's pretty simple. And the grant website is there as well to kind of provide you some more information on that. Quick updates on some other funding sources that have been used in the past. The Bright Schools program is apparently up and running at this point. There's, according to the CEC, there's about $2 million in program funds remaining to provide up to $20,000 per district in consultant services to help them identify energy efficiency projects. The website is there as well. So that this might be something to consider if you're looking for a little bit extra funding to help hire a consultant to do some deeper dives into your energy efficiency programs or projects. Moving on, the SEEP program, School Energy Efficiency Program, was instrumental in the past in offsetting costs for lighting, either making it completely free or with a reduced copay, and HVAC retrofits in the past. However, due to changing IOU program requirements and available solution codes, for the program in 2018 is now closed. However, Willdan is still in negotiations with SCE for 2019 funding and is trying to make this option available again. So stay tuned on that. Talking a little bit about utility incentives. It's a bit of a mixed bag as far as what's available now, but the good news is there are still certain things that are available. Midstream incentives are available for, or MPOP as we call it, are still available for lighting, but there's only about $250,000 left. And that can go fairly quickly, so apply now if you want to leverage those funds. I'll talk a little bit about eligible measures on the next slide. Also available from SCE, there are incentives at $250 a ton for HVAC barred unit replacements on portables. So if you're looking to upgrade the HVAC on your portables, that's a very good incentive to leverage. Obviously, food service equipment is always been a big one as far as replacing food service equipment in your kitchens and food prep areas. And then other and upcoming opportunities, SCE is filing for expansion of their Charge Ready program. Many of you are probably hearing lots of noise regarding the EV planning and fleet electrification. SCE had a program, a successful pilot that they've had to initially close because it was fully subscribed for Charge Ready, which helped districts offset the cost of installing EV chargers and the planning for that. But they are in active discussions with the CPUC and others to expand this successful pilot program into a larger phase 2. I think the takeaway from all of this for districts are these opportunities are always changing and in flux. So use your resources, your IOU account reps to see what's available, or SoCalREN, as they are following this very closely and can tell you at a moment's notice what the latest and greatest opportunities are as far as utility incentives. Next slide. This is just a quick screenshot from the incentives for the midstream lighting program. You can see there are incentives available for LED high and low bays, LED 1x4, 2x4, and 2x2 retrofit kits, LED tubes, and LED exterior lights as well. Again, for up-to-date information, get a hold of your account rep or SoCalREN. They can walk you through this process, estimate incentives, and really help determine which incentives are available and right for your needs. Beyond those sources, there are still more sources of funding to leverage. Obviously, CEC grants, not only with the school bus replacement, but other EPIC grants that are trying to bring about emerging technologies into the market. CEC grants for electric vehicles and supporting infrastructure, paired with also air pollution agency grants, AQMD grants. And oftentimes these grant fundings can be combined with funding from another grant to really cover a much more comprehensive amount of the project that you're trying to do. There's also third-party financing, which can help offset project costs. California Infrastructure and Economic Development Bank, iBank is some you'll hear. The ECA loans that I talked about already, those 0% loans from the CEC. General obligation bonds. When you're going out for a bond, thinking about the energy efficiency or renewables or conservation measures that you want to put into those bonds really helps set you up well to have funding available for measures in the future. Certificates of participation and equipment lease financing are also options that might be right for your district. Again, SoCalREN can help you evaluate these options through the services they provide. They have some financing gurus on their team that can sit down and help you explore these different options. From the IOUs, there is also on-bill financing to allow the bill savings to finance the cost of the energy projects right on your energy bill. And then there's also the concept of internal district revolving loan funds. And this is really a conversation that you set up with your district to set aside either the money from energy savings, bill savings, or the incentive to fund additional projects. In other words, if you save $100,000 between incentives and utility bill savings in a year, you're able to set that funding aside and use that as $100,000 to offset the next year's energy projects. And you grow and grow and grow that fund as you go. That's worked for some districts. Other districts aren't funded like that, but at least it's worth asking to see if you can set up an internal source of funding. Okay. Next slide. We're going to shift a little bit from funding to another thought, a special request to talk about the impacts of the upcoming time of use shift. Some of you may or may not have heard of this. Essentially, peak rate hours are changing from 12 to 6 p.m. as they are right now to 4 to 9 p.m. And there's some impacts to this that we're already starting to see. But again, work with SCE and SoCalREN to understand the true impacts for your district. Let's say your school closes by 4 p.m. A lot of elementary schools are closed by 4 p.m. There's the opportunity, or all of your usage or most of your usage will now be shifted from peak to part peak or off peak rates. And there's significant cost savings to be had there. But think about it on the flip side. If you are using stadium lighting after hours, for general illumination or sports events when it gets dark, that will now be hit with peak rates. And I'll get into an analysis of that on the next slide. It also has the potential to impact the value of new solar installations that you're looking at, just based on the time of day when solar is generating the most power. And that's really a case-by-case basis. I don't want to say it always negatively or positively impacts solar. You kind of have to balance the bill discount that you're seeing from usage now not in peak time with the decrease in value of solar production that is also aligned with lower cost power. Lastly, the stadium lighting example. We took a sample project that was looking at replacing 167 1,500 watt metal halide stadium lights with 139 750 watt LED stadium lights, and you look at the existing cost to operate that, under the old TOU structure at part peak or off peak rates, this was about $8,200 a year. Under the new peak TOU rates, that jumps to about $26,000 a year. So there's a significant cost impact to your bottom line for operating high wattage stadium lights during new peak times. However, because of the higher rates that those are now operating under, your annual project cost savings for the retrofit jumps from an estimated $4,800 a year to about $15,000 a year. And this can significantly impact your payback. The graph there is showing, depending on your operating hours, what a simple payback would be for that project. And, obviously the payback gets better the longer you operate those hours or those lights. And you can see a significant decrease in payback under the new TOU rates, just because of the higher cost of operating those lights now. So where projects might not have been financially feasible in the past, it's worth at least taking a look under the new TOU rates to make sure that, or to check in on project economics, and maybe the project is now viable enough to move forward. So that's all I have at this point. Handing it back to you, Nicole.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Steve. I did see a question come through, so we will pass that on to Steve and have him address that during the panel later on. And just a reminder, please, to the audience, submit questions through the Zoom chat or Q&A tool. We'd love to have a healthy, robust discussion later on. And you've just heard about quite a number of resources that on their own offer project cost savings and funding access to schools. But as I mentioned at the top of the hour, the really key win is leveraging them all to the maximum benefit. So I want to take a moment and give an introduction to the SoCalREN Public Agency Program, because our team are experts in navigating these resources and helping districts to plan for projects today and well into the future. So we work closely with Southern California's investor-owned utilities and a team of industry experts like Steve and his colleagues, as well as some others. So we'll talk about that a little bit before we go on to the case studies with Marianne and Keith. What is SoCalREN? That acronym stands for the Southern California Regional Energy Network. And the County of Los Angeles administers a portfolio of programs under the umbrella of the SoCalREN. So we're talking about the public agency piece here today. And the public agency program is funded by California utility ratepayers under the auspices of the California Public Utilities Commission. So this is important because the ratepayer funding allows for services to be provided at no cost to public agencies. And that includes K-12 school districts, charter schools, and county offices of education as well within the education sector. So all of the customers under Southern California Edison and SoCalGas pay into this funding. And again, that is how these services are offered free of charge. And at this time, community colleges are not eligible, I must say, but we're expanding, or we're reviewing an expansion to our charter right now. So hopefully we'll be able to address this segment in the hopeful near future. So just reviewing a little bit of our portfolio right now to get to know where we're working and how far geographically our reach goes. So there are 110 public agencies currently enrolled in the program. 8 of these are school districts, and I want to send you to SoCalREN.com, our website, to see who those districts are, explore a little bit about the services, and just get to know some of the projects that we have been supporting. You can see on this map the dark purple shaded areas encompass the 12 counties where our program is eligible. So our team is comprised of project managers, a number of energy and engineering consultants, as well as public financing professionals, all with wide expertise providing services in the public sector, all disciplines of the public sector. So this team works in a consultory manner, side by side with public agency staff, to develop energy conservation measures, identify funding, and also provide support to implement projects that result in energy savings. So here you can see a wide variety of the services that are offered through the SoCalREN Public Agency Program. So all the way through technical support to help identify and develop some of those measures specific to each of the agencies and facilities, as well as some of the additional infrastructure that you might have. Proposal and construction support. So I do want to note that construction-related costs, such as equipment and installation costs, are borne by the agency. So what we provide are support services, so the agencies can make well-informed decisions about their projects and overall energy management strategy. A lot of that has to do with really one-on-one staff support, working directly with the agencies, facilities, maintenance, and administration staff to develop the projects that are right for their organization and administrative structures. So what we offer is objective, third-party analysis, and recommendations on the high-efficiency solutions, again, that are tailored to your specific need. I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into the financing support services, since that's what we're covering today in the webinar. So we do automatically incorporate identification of utility incentives and economic outcomes for on-bill financing and energy lease financing in our audit development process. So if a district does want to explore some additional funding or financing mechanisms, like those covered bonds, certificates of participation, leases, or other type of funding, even grants, we can certainly work with you to incorporate these scenarios. And I just want to note that direct municipal advisory services are available for some of those large big ticket projects. So we consider project costs and the estimation of energy savings, and the assistance is provided directly by PSM financial advisors. So that's going to wrap things up for me. And just note at the end of the webinar, you'll see my contact information, and I'm happy to be a resource for you if you have additional questions and want to explore opportunities. So with that background on the SoCalREN, I'll segue over to our district highlights, and those will be given by the project's leads themselves. So I'll borrow from a proverb and say that although it really can seem like it takes a village to complete an energy project, we feel that the absolute key to success from our program's view is having an impassioned and committed project champion. So that's what we have in our next two speakers. So I'm really pleased to start with an introduction to Marianne LaRue from Oxnard Union High School District. She's an energy conservation specialist and certified energy manager. Marianne has been at the district for 12 years and has been the energy conservation specialist for the past 8. Her foundation for work within the district comes from a partnership with Synergistic, which has guided the development of an energy conservation program and provided Marianne with education on behavior-based strategies, which she employs alongside the technical support from our program. So Marianne, I'll now pass the presentation over to you.
Hi, good morning, everybody. It's nice to be here. I've already learned a lot from what Steve and Nicole had to say, so thank you all. The next slide will show you kind of an overall profile of our school district. There's about 1.7 million square feet of floor area, and our behavior-based program that started in 2010 has saved over 3.2 million from those efforts and counting. On the next slide, it'll give you an idea of some of the projects that SoCalREN has helped us with. Basically, early on in this process, SoCalREN coordinated with our IOUs and SEEP and allowed for a streamlined process. It avoided duplication of efforts, and both programs were able to identify unique opportunities and help us realize quick savings. The SEEP program provided full service development, management, implementation, and installation of energy efficiency projects through a direct install program, and that was all provided at little or no cost to the district. SoCalREN also developed our energy expenditure plans to obtain Prop 39 funding, and applied for a CEC loan. Since SEEP addressed a portion of the energy efficiency measures, it meant that the Prop 39 scope could be larger to capture even greater energy savings. So we were able to do even more. We were really impressed because we didn't feel like other Prop 39 consultants would bother to recommend this type of a coordinated approach. So we were happy to have an objective third-party advisor to help us develop a comprehensive strategy and maximize those benefits. SoCalREN identified projects totaling $5.4 million, and with a combination of our Prop 39 funding, utility incentives, and CEC loans, all the project costs were covered. This represents a 27% reduction of total energy usage. Pretty exciting stuff. Just a little summary of some of the services that SoCalREN provided to our school district. They came out and provided the energy audits. They provided project management support, incentive application support, technical specifications, Prop 39 application support, CEC loan application help, and RFP help, which is what we've been doing more recently. On the next slide, it shows you some of the projects we are currently implementing, these energy efficiency projects that were identified through SoCalREN audits and SCE's SEEP program. And again, it does account for a 27% reduction in our overall energy consumption. Pretty impressive. We're excited about that. SoCalREN basically provided all these services and replaced the services of an ESCO, for example, that the district may have had to pay for. We were really happy about the fact that they were vendor neutral and they provided services at no cost to the district. That vendor neutral thing is key because, as we all know, when you're implementing energy efficiency projects, if somebody has some skin in the game, it's not going to be objective. So, some of the obstacles that we have overcome and lessons learned. First of all, we had existing solar at 7 of our 8 sites prior to Prop 39. We completed the benchmarking, tried to work with the Prop 39 program, but there was a lot of back and forth with the CEC regarding questions they had. One of our high schools has a very large solar system, and SoCalREN had to really think out of the box calculations with our existing solar generation and usage. In fact, that very obstacle had prevented the district from moving forward with any energy efficiency projects funded by Prop 39 prior to our working with them, because we did not know how to show energy savings from these projects to the CEC. So there's a lot of high-level back and forth between the CEC that they were able to get over that obstacle. Another obstacle was we had expiring solution codes. So we had several exterior lighting measures that were, the solution codes were set to expire at the end of 2018. But early on in the process, SoCalREN took the lead to apply for incentive applications, and we ended up getting grandfathered in to measures that had already expired. So that was key. They were on it. They knew where they had to coordinate their efforts early on. So they also coordinated with the IOUs with, as I mentioned, the related program, SEEP. They even looked into other Edison programs, trying to think outside the box. There was LEAP, which is a lodging efficiency plan funding that Edison sets aside for hotels, things like of that nature. They wanted to identify all possible avenues and mitigate the impacts of any expiring measures. They offered procurement services, which has been where we are recently, RFP assistance, providing technical specifications, general RFP support, including assisting with RFIs from contractors. That's been key recently since I'm not an engineer. And I thank you, Steve. We've been able to call on you and get your assistance, and that's been extremely valuable in answering technical questions from contractors and getting those technical specifications to make sure that we are actually sending out the RFI on what we are hoping to accomplish to get the end result right. And they've been a great resource for answering all those types of technical questions about energy and the savings to investment ratio calculations with the CEC. So that pretty much sums up what I had. I'll throw it back to you.
Great, Marianne. Oh, perfect. Thanks very much, Marianne, for that wonderful overview. And I just want to say I forgot to share a fun fact that we asked for all of the speakers to submit. So Marianne's was that she participated in the Rosarito to Ensenada 50-mile bike race. So just in all the spare time from doing wonderful energy endeavors, other feats around the brain. Thanks, Marianne, for sharing. So we'll move on to Alhambra Unified School District perspective, and I'm pleased to introduce Keith Kovach, Director of Facility Services. And Keith has been with the district for 4 years. Within the last year, he has taken over as the Director of Facility Services. And as for Keith's fun fact, he was a software developer previously, a journeyman carpenter, and electrician. So he spends all his free time continually remodeling his house. Thank you so much, Keith, and I'm going to hand things over to you now.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
We're all good.
All right. So like she said, I've been in Alhambra for 4 years. This is my 3rd district. I've been in facilities for approximately 12 years now. Like I said, I've spent the last year as director, so I have a little bit different perspective. I was also my first district, I was actually the maintenance electrician who had to implement a lot of the energy efficiency, like behavioral stuff that district had gone through. So I'm very, very familiar, EMS systems and scheduling and all that stuff. So in 2014, when I started for this district, the district had already begun to had already engaged with a consulting firm to do all of their Prop 39 audits. So when I came into this district, I was given those projects. They had already been started, but since then, since the last 4 years, we've done about 4.3 million in Prop 39 projects. We've done interior and exterior lighting at 7 schools. We've upgraded our HVAC at 7 schools. The last one, which we were completing this summer, was we did 61 units at one of our large San Gabriel High School. So that's wrapping up this summer, so we're very excited. A lot of those units were very old. So currently, one of our LCAP goals this year, that's our local control accountability plan, was that we are going to develop a comprehensive district-wide energy master plan. This is in line with our current bond planning. So right now we're doing a district-wide master plan for all of our facility needs and for the future of the district. So kind of aligned with that is we're going to have a conservation and energy master plan that is supported by bond funds. So with the help of SoCalREN, in a very expedited time frame, they leveraged some of our Prop 39, existing Prop 39 audits, and were able to put together or identify 27 different energy efficiency measures district-wide that we could implement using bond funds over the next 3 years. This would garner about $600,000 in incentives, and we're hoping to realize an annual cost savings of about $800,000, which represents about 30% of our current energy expenditures. They've been very helpful in grouping projects that based on the SIR model, the savings to investment ratio, because it helps us with procurement, being able to procure some of these more complicated retro commissioning measures, HVAC changeouts, and even the lighting projects. Using best value as opposed to low bid has been very successful for us. So we've been able to do all of our projects with best value, and we can go out and find contractors that know what they're doing and get things done. So let's see. Our current goal is to start with all of our retro commissioning projects first, because they're the most inexpensive and will yield the most savings first. That's our tier 1 approach. And then our second tier is going to be, doing all of our lighting, the rest of our lighting, I should say, the interior and exterior lighting, and then attack some of the larger, big mechanical projects. We have a central plant at one of our high schools that's, I swear it's 40 years old, still has R11 refrigerant, and it's on its last leg, but that's a very expensive, very complicated project. So we're looking at doing that probably year 3. So we've had our challenges, but we've been able to overcome most everything and get all those projects done. We're excited to get the board to support our plan going forward to utilize what the data that SoCalREN gave us to implement the rest of those measures, to help the district receive more of their revenue, pay more teacher salaries and more classified staff, and fix more schools and things like that, as opposed to just giving it to Edison. So other than that, I think that's where we're at, and I don't really have anything else. Back to you, Nicole.
Thanks, Keith. Great. Well, let's see. I think we're at the time where we are going to set up for our panel discussion. So I do want to make one final reminder to the audience to submit questions via the Q&A or the chat function. So we have assembled a few questions here. I think what I will start off with is one related to Steve's presentation. So let me just note here, we had a question regarding one of the graphs related to the MPOP lighting program and a clarification on the amount of funding available. Steve, can you comment?
Yes, that was a very good question, and it appears that there is a little over 2.5 million left. I was looking at the graph the wrong way. That is not funding used, that's amount of funding available. So submit your really big lighting projects to the program, and there should be plenty of incentives available for that.
Great, thanks, Steve. All right, let's pull back to some of the other questions. So a question from the Owens Valley Unified School District. Maybe, Steve, you can help me with this one. I am a brand new superintendent. My district did not apply for Prop 39 funds, so maybe a couple other folks experiencing this here on the line. Is there a second chance to do so? From what I can tell, we are eligible for about 70,000.
Yeah. No, that's a great question. Unfortunately, at this time, there is not a second chance to apply for the first tranche of Prop 39 funding. But using the services that we've heard about today from SoCalREN, the IOUs, you can still leverage a ton of their free services to develop and identify, or to develop measures and identify funding for those energy efficiency measures. So while there may not be Prop 39 dollars available, there are free technical resources, and there are resources to guide you down different funding pathways to explore how to fund those projects.
Great. Okay. And I think that response probably appropriately addresses another question. Give me just a moment here. We have a question regarding the SoCalREN program as well, and a school district with a strong energy conservation program, completing some of the Prop 39 projects, and solar and whatnot. So curious about assistance to figure out what other opportunities are available. So yes, I can definitively say that SoCalREN can help to navigate the waters and see what is left. So I'll just clarify some of those eligibility factors that are really key here for us being able to provide full support as long as the district is a customer of either Southern California Edison or SoCal Gas, we do have eligibility to come in and offer support, so that's wonderful. And then additionally, we are an energy efficiency retrofit-minded program. So that means new construction isn't something that we can throw all of the complete menu of resources at. We're looking at upgrades of existing aging facilities, and then efficiency really excludes some of the solar storage and other type of distributed energy resources. However, we can really set the stage from an energy efficiency standpoint when you address some of the load questions. Then you can appropriately size and start developing your plans for some of the other resources. So, Steve, any additional comment there?
That approach is really in line with the California's loading order for energy projects. You want to reduce your consumption through energy efficiency before you do your renewables and demand response and everything else that goes along with it, because otherwise you're still using as much energy, it's just coming from a different source.
Okay. Keith and Marianne, you are up. Question for you. What are some energy saving behavior tactics that have worked for you in the past? So aside from the utility side, this question came from a district that still leaves light on, ACs running and whatnot. So can you share some of the strategies that you found from that behavior side?
Yeah, I know for myself, having a dedicated person in the role of an energy manager in the school district whose sole purpose it is to go check on those things after school hours really helps to have boots on the ground, doing site visits. Part of it is an education piece. You want to educate the everybody, make them realize that we are all stakeholders in the district. We are all responsible for reducing our energy usage, and to just sell them on the notion, make them realize that we all benefit when we use less energy. We all have more money in the budget to accomplish our core purposes, which is, providing safe places to provide a world-class education to our students, and that's what we're all here for. So it's a lot of education and meeting people, being approachable, but yet asking them to participate. So it's kind of a team effort. It's been interesting. It's been fun for me.
Thanks, Marianne. And how about you, Keith? I know you one time said, a small portion of your responsibility lies within the energy management realm. So what has worked for your team from the behavior standpoint?
In this district, from a behavior standpoint, nothing has worked, to be fair. I have a limited amount of time to spend on that, and it's not really being pushed down on us from the board or upper cabinet to necessarily save energy. From facilities, we're handling it from more of we want to save district resources because that's the right thing to do, and then another reason is to protect our equipment. So I'm using a more passive approach, which is just making sure things are off when people aren't using them. And if I can't get a person to do that, then I'm going to use a computer to do that. So I'm pushing for district-wide EMS, lighting, and HVAC, and that's something else that SoCalREN has helped me identify and find incentives. I want to be able to hit a button and turn everything off, and then participate in demand response, but actually participate. So if there's an event, I want to be able to hit a button and raise all my set points a few degrees. But I got another 20 years here, and I don't want to make everybody mad by turning all their thermostats off or turning up the temperatures. I'm not willing to fight that fight yet. So that's it.
You're playing the long game, Keith.
I'm playing the long game. That's right. I don't want to be drawn and quartered yet. Not yet.
Thanks, Keith. Okay, I have another question here coming regarding the Bright Schools program. So someone who has used a Bright Schools planning grant to do Prop 39 EEP and approval for a lighting project. So they sent out, when we sent out RFPs, we experienced reluctance to participate because the vendors had not done the EEP and weren't familiar with the savings calculations, so they had very few participants. So the question is, did either Oxnard Union High School District or Alhambra USD experience this? And I don't know, Marianne, have you utilized the Bright Schools program?
Honestly, we did several years ago. It was good. The audits were good, but it kind of, there was a missing piece, and that was what you guys really provided. It would be great to do that in conjunction with working with SoCalREN and Newcomb, Anderson, McCormick, because we didn't have any assistance with the procurement or energy savings. Maybe they had energy savings calculations, but no technical specifications. And so we were left with the kind of the meatiest part of it and no guidance to help us go through to implementation.
Sure. Keith, did Alhambra utilize this Bright Schools program in the past?
No, we are looking into it as we speak.
Okay.
So we did energy audits on all of our schools, but we haven't really looked at our secondary sites, like we have an old district office, we have the transportation department, we have the current district office. It's a 2-building facility. So, you know, that dollar amount seems about appropriate to maybe help us look into some energy efficiency measures at those buildings that kind of didn't get the attention that we had put to schools.
Sure. Okay, well then I'll close out, and I think this will be the closeout to the Q&A panel, but SoCalREN, in short, can certainly help. And my recommendation is to, as Marianne said, kind of start from the beginning. So we have in the past stepped in and taken some of the initial Bright Schools audits that were provided by the various contractors involved and done a tune-up in a nutshell, and reviewed and in some cases provided a little more technical assistance to update some of those savings calculations and really take it further to develop technical specifications, like Marianne said. So this can be done, and we're happy to take a peek and give a recommendation after review about what would be needed to take it to the next step. However, we are open to starting from the beginning, and if you are interested in seeing whether participation in this program is appropriate, we can assist with some of that coordination with that program. And that might be the best bet to really make sure that the communication from the very beginning is setting you up for execution later on during implementation. Steve, any?
No, that's exactly, you know, the more risk that you can reduce for the contractors based on a solid audit, a solid tech spec, you know, gets you good bids at the best pricing, because they're not hedging with any risk that they have to put into their pricing.
Sure, sure. Okay. Well, I think we've got just a few minutes, so and I don't see any last questions that have come through. So we'll just move to closing remarks. So thank you for all of the questions submitted by the audience and for sharing your time and engaging in the discussion. And certainly a big thank you to all of our speakers today, Steve, Marianne, and Keith. It was wonderful. And just a note that we will be sending a follow-up survey this afternoon, so look for that. And there are a couple of write-in elements to that. So if you have a question and you would like one of the speakers to address it, please send that along, and we will get a response back to you. And let's see, I mentioned the recording as well as a PDF copy of the webinar slides will be available for public use. So probably in the next week, visit SoCalREN.com and we should have those up, and we will send to all of the registrants as well. And again, if you have any questions or want to follow up in the future, my contact information is here. I am an engagement project manager, and then you can also call our standard network line that actually goes directly to me at 877-785-NETWORK. And with that, we'll close out the webinar. Thank you again, everyone, for participating, and we hope to see you at our next workshop or webinar. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye all.